when we show up in these public spaces, where, by the way, we probably spend as much time there more time there than we do in a church setting.
Absolutely.
We spend more time in a work setting in some instances than with our kids or with our spouse.
Actually, yeah.
So yeah, it actually has a tremendous impact on our witness. So I do want to just kind of say, like, when you are great at what you do, what happens is it opens a door for you to be able to tell the story of Jesus Christ a little bit more innately and a little bit more directly. Because the same question they asked of Samson, they're just like, all right, what's the secret of your strength? And people want to know how it is that you do what you do.
Ooh.
Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person, and the brothers are here.
Hey,
Pastor
we here.
Snell,
We're here. That's it.
Boom. Yeah.
We're here on another Monday.
Monday.
Dropping a podcast just for you.
Just for you.
A March Monday.
March Monday.
Yeah.
And,
Not madness.
yeah.
March
No,
Monday.
that's
Yeah.
right. Even though we're okay with March
We're
Madness.
okay with March
we are.
Madness.
We are.
Yeah.
This is about taking a leap right now.
Right,
That's it.
right.
We're focusing on for the
And
next 20
this
minutes
is
or
actually
so.
closing out our leap, isn't it? I mean, this is
Bringing out this leap year series
the
to
leap series,
conclusion.
Yeah, that's right. So we want to now take a look at taking a leap professionally.
come on.
Yeah.
Many of us have careers or businesses.
Sure.
And so we want to look at how do we take that leap of faith in that area. And this is something I would assume, Pastor Snell, that people don't always make a correlation between their spiritual lives and their professional lives. Is that what you found in your ministry dealing with us?
Oh, yeah. So it's interesting how we tend to compartmentalize and we create a box that says relationships or marriage, another box that is, professional, and another box that is spiritual, not realizing that those things are all interconnected.
Yeah.
They're interdependent. They're, they all touch and affect one another. In fact, when I think about something the Apostle Paul says, he was just like, whatever your hands find to do, to do it with all your might, as if working unto God and not unto man.
Right.
And so I cannot just have, these devotional or religious practices that are in this box. But then when I step into this professional space, those things have no connection with one another, because even the Bible says that, it's actually a part of my witness to a certain extent.
Oh, wow.
So the way I go about my work, it actually says something about my God. In fact, when you look at Daniel chapter 6, Daniel went about his work in such a way, like, I'm assuming that there in Medo-Persia, maybe he could not overtly proselytize. Or,
Understood.
I think he was clear in who he was and his faith. He prayed with his window open, the whole shebang. But the Bible talks about how, like, they didn't recognize it. They didn't quite know how to quantify it or how to label it. But they were just like, this guy just has an excellent spirit within him. You see what I'm saying? Whereas, like, they didn't have the theological, kind of wherewithal to identify it. But basically, they were able to recognize the presence of the Holy Spirit simply by the way he carried himself and managed his affairs.
That's good.
Or even when you look at Solomon at the peak of his powers, like with the way he went about leading Israel, it was not imperfect, but there was this excellence, there was this order, there was this, there was just a process about the way they went about doing things. Yeah. So much so that, like, man, the Queen of Sheba comes all the way to hear his wisdom, but man, when she just looks at the way the kingdom moves. The way it operates, the order, the intentionality, the details, she was just like, man, the half just hadn't been told.
Wow.
you see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so I just think that, when we when we show up in these public spaces, where, by the way, we probably spend as much time there more time there than we do in a church setting.
Absolutely.
We spend more time in a work setting in some instances than with our kids or with our spouse.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
So yeah, it actually has a tremendous impact on our witness. So I do want to just kind of say, like, when you are great at what you do, what happens is it opens a door for you to be able to tell the story of Jesus Christ a little bit more innately and a little bit more directly. Because the same question they asked of Samson, they're just like, all right, what's the secret of your strength? And people want to know how it is that you do what you do.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Now, there's this the number one search term on Google.
Okay.
Number one, and it's been number one for some time. Purpose.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
How do I find my purpose?
Yeah.
How do I find the reason why I'm here?
Yeah. Wow.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
K through 12, right? College, undergrad, master's and doctorate. There is no degree in finding purpose.
Wow.
Hey.
No class
No class.
on finding purpose.
Very true.
And purpose will help you to know what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
who you're supposed to serve, and it will be, as the word says, a fountain springing up unto itself.
Yeah.
So it refills you as you do it.
Yeah.
It's almost like it pays you back
Yeah.
as you expend energy.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I so resonate with what Pastor Snell is saying. We spend more time doing what we, quote unquote, are professionally than any other aspect of our lives. And so how is it that we try to put it off in a corner that isn't touched by our relationship with Jesus?
Yeah.
I believe God wants to share with us and show us what we are supposed to do, what our purpose is, and our purpose will be something that our hands find to do.
Yeah.
Both from a volunteer standpoint, whether you're at church, or from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
You can get paid for your purpose.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. And that's the ideal.
And that's the ideal. So I resonate with this whole conversation. I believe that taking a leap professionally sometimes may mean taking a step back and really doing the work to understand, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And what he wants you to do this season may be different than the next season, may be different in the next season, but he is the one that's guiding and governing what your hands find to do.
Yeah.
I hope that isn't too off topic. I wanted to kind of couch that in
that
there.
purpose component is critical to the entire conversation.
Absolutely.
I think so. In fact, I was going to ask you if you think that is the key to making a professional leap, knowing what your purpose is.
Yeah, no, I do think that anybody, because I think there are certain people, and I'm trying to not to go too far right or left, but I do think that if a paycheck is your only incentive,
That's it.
for going to whatever vocational context you go to every day, I just feel like you are operating with a lid, a limit, a glass ceiling. You will find yourself kind of living for the weekends, longing for them to come, hating for them to depart. And I think Pastor Nugent said something. I just think that when you find your purpose, like the paycheck or how much it pays, that's not the cake. It's more icing on top of the cake.
Yeah.
And I say this in some settings. I don't want the people at South Central or the North American Division to hear this, but honestly, I would do what I do for a living free. I mean, like if the conference just said, like, we're done with you today, like I would still figure out another way to subsidize my life financially so I could still do this. Because like this, is exhausted as I am, say, on a Sunday night. Like, listen, Monday, I'm ready to start and do it all over again. And so I just think that because it's what I have been created to do. Is what I've been gifted and called to do. And I think for anybody that wants to make a professional leap, a big part of it is just really identifying, all right, why am I here? Yeah. Like, why did God assign my life to have its conception in 1977 or 1968 or 1998 or 2016, whatever it is? I just think that when you get clarity on that, there is no limit, no lid.
No.
The Bible says if you see a man who is skilled in his work, that he will serve before kings. He will not serve before obscure men or in lowly places, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I just think the big key to that is, discovering or aligning yourself with whatever it is that God has called you to do. And the idea of calling, we only assign it to pastor. But like to be a teacher, let me just say this. To be a teacher is a call.
It's a call.
To be a teacher, like, listen, I go to my son, he's in the 4th grade. Man, I walk in that 4th grade class and I'm just like, God, this has to be a calling. For them to be 30 of them and only 1 or 2 teachers, that's got to be a calling.
That is a calling.
Or when I walk into a nursing home or a hospital, like I am there to pray with, encourage. But honestly, just nursing homes just have this smell.
They all do.
They all do, right?
Real talk, yeah.
And that's a calling for someone to be able to serve. And I ain't gonna lie. I mean, you can tell those who did it because, all right, this is what somebody told them to do, or maybe it pays well. Versus somebody like this is their calling. Wow. They enter into that room. They treat with a different bedside manner, a different care, a different concern. Yeah. It is beyond just the normal. These are my scope of duties. Yeah. See, a person that operates in their calling, they go beyond the written scope of duties.
Will. Yeah.
And so, whatever it is, all of us have a different calling. To be a nurse, to be a teacher, to build things. I think it's a unique calling. It's a different way of seeing the world. So I do want to encourage everybody to realize it's not just those who are assigned a clergy, an ecclesiastical responsibility that are assigned a calling.
Yeah, no,
I agree. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say you brought up Daniel. Daniel was on assignment in every area, and he spanned multiple kingdoms.
He did. Yep.
Daniel was on assignment. Yeah. Daniel operated in his calling and his purpose. And when it was seen by others, they were like, give that man more work. Yeah. Give him more responsibility. Yep. His gifts not only made room for him, but because he knew he was on assignment, he wasn't working for whatever the compensation was. Yeah. Wasn't working for the notoriety. Yeah. Wasn't working for the applause. Because I want to be clear, some of us are motivated because
it's a different currency.
It's a different currency. Yeah. But because I see it, especially in the content creator space. You're motivated by the views and the likes and the viral moments. And I can tell you as a content coach, that is the worst form of motivation.
It is.
Because as soon as it dips, people go into depression. Yeah. Folks don't want to create anymore.
Or you operate out of character.
There you
just
go.
To get the views or the viral moment.
There you go. You completely step out of who you are. So being on assignment is having this clear understanding that I may not know the full extent of what God is doing, but I know in this season, for this moment, this is what he has given me to do. And I'm going to do with everything I've got. And then when I get the next assignment, I'm going to do that one with everything I've got as well.
Now, it's so funny because you talked about Daniel. And I think this is why I think it is critical in these days and times that our people take a professional leap. So when you go from Nebuchadnezzar to Darius and the Medes and the Persians, kind of like the tradition was this. Anybody that served the former king.
Done.
You clean house. Yeah. You killed them. Anybody that showed
you didn't just fire them.
Loyal, right? You didn't just fire them. Right.
They're dead.
Yeah. You showed that showed any loyalty or any affinity for that previous king. You had to get rid of them. Yeah. But Daniel was so excellent at what he did. He literally, in some ways, made himself irreplaceable.
Come on.
And it actually would have been for Darius a self-sabotaging behavior
to get rid of him.
Yeah. And I do think that in this era that we are in,
this is the piece.
You have to be operating in such a peak way that you make yourself indispensable. Where no matter what the politics of it is, or no matter what the trend is or what they're trying to do, at the end of the day, to mess with Kirk, to mess with David, to mess with Sister so-and-so, they're just so good at what they do. They operate with such excellence that, I harm myself in an attempt to harm them. Yeah. Now, that's not to say, bad things won't happen or folk won't come against you. But I just think, but if you already kind of got a bad attitude and you showing up late and you're generally indifferent, especially you're giving people an opportunity or an occasion, especially in this climate, to remove you.
Oh, my word. So good.
Before we get out of here, it strikes me that there's a word that we've been using a lot today that I think is very germane to this conversation, but it's one that I wonder if we fully understand, and that's the word calling. When we say that this teacher or this preacher or this lawyer or this media personality is operating within their calling, what are we really saying? What does that mean?
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it's based upon the idea that every single life is not just a result of biology, but I believe that providence willed us all here.
Agreed.
No matter what circumstances biologically made it so. I think it is based with the idea that you have been given certain gifts, talents, a way of seeing the world, a way of processing information. And I think that there is a predetermined, prescripted path for your life that ensures productivity and success and fruitfulness. And that path is going to cause your life to honor God in an exponential fashion. So that's essentially what I think a calling is. It's the recognition that I'm here for something.
Yeah.
I don't just get up and say, all right, at 18, what do I want to do?
Right.
It's what have I been created to do?
Yeah, that's a difference.
And I live my life looking to align my obedience and my efforts and my energies with whatever I have been prescripted to do by God.
And to me, that goes back to Pastor Nugent, a word that you really introduced to the conversation, which is purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
Pastor Snell is talking about the need for us to find our purpose,
Right.
and then our purpose is our calling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I resonate with that 5,000%. There's something to be said for you, and you get glimpses of it. You see people who are operating in those spaces, and you say to yourself, "Man, they're under assignment." But when we're talking about calling, and especially when we're talking about young people and looking to do different things, a business coach of mine said to me, "There's if you believe that there's a limit on how much you can earn or earning potential, then you also believe that there is a limited amount of problems to solve in the world."
Wow.
And I was like,
Yeah.
He said, so if you don't believe there is a limit on the amount of problems to solve,
Sure.
then there's unlimited earning potential as well.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, oh, okay,
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
Now, only thing I'll add to that this coach said to me, only thing I'll add to that is each person was born of God to solve a problem.
Yep, to be a solution.
To be a solution.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that.
And that's your calling.
Yeah.
And if you, it's just a matter of finding that thing that you were born to solve.
Yeah.
That's a deep premise. I like that
Yeah.
a lot. We've got a couple of minutes left. Both you have talked about mentorship. You believe in mentorship also as a
absolutely.
mechanism for professional growth and development.
Yeah. Oh, well, big time. And honestly, I think it's biblical. I mean, honestly, like look
Totally
at
agree.
it. Like
Totally agree.
Moses for 40 years essentially, provided mentorship and example and created a template for Joshua to be able to follow.
Agreed.
And see, the only way Joshua was able to help them occupy the land is because he was able, to kind of get a template from Moses or even Elisha before Elijah leaves. He's just like, yo, I just need that. I need the Spirit.
Yeah.
Give
me a double portion.
Give me a double portion
Mercy.
of the Spirit that's
Mercy.
operating inside of you.
Right.
And so I just think mentorship is very much biblical. I think it is what is lacking because like what young people tend to do, 19, 20, 25-year-olds, they generally want to be mentored by peers.
Yeah, they do.
They want to be counseled by people their age.
Yeah.
And I think that's creating a deficit of sorts. And so I just think that, you need to kind of look at some people that are further down the road that than you are traveling.
Yeah.
Right.
Not people that are next to you on the same path.
Same path, yeah.
Who haven't seen anything
Right.
that you have not seen.
Yeah.
I think that is an errant way, especially for those who may be 30 and under. You need people that have been through a few more seasons of life and you want to look at getting some counsel. And so I just want to really, in closing, just say, hey, mentorship and continued education. Like you want to always be adding something to so like we are born with certain gifts or talents, but you have to develop them.
Yeah.
You have to nurture them. It's why Paul says, Timothy, you still got to make foolproof of your ministry. Like he's saying, you gotta fully develop
it.
Like you gotta make the most of these natural gifts or these inherent gifts that you were born with. And so the same way, like say a great athlete, over the summer, when that next season starts, you can tell who's been in the lab, as the kids would say.
As we call it, the lab.
Now they're going left. Now they're shooting, better, or they're defending better, or so on and so forth. Professionally, each and every one of us, we got to stay in the lab.
Yeah.
So, you got to always
skills.
be honing something, developing something, strengthening something, building up a deficiency. I do think it is a flaw for you if you've allowed your deficiencies to become immortal. Like they live forever. They live forever. They're never addressed. And so I just think that, seeking mentorship and continued education, I think those are two critical components of making a professional leap, no matter what area it is that God has called you to operate in.
And I'll just add two quick things to that. One being, so I want to ask two questions of our audience, and one is, who are you mentoring?
Yeah, gotcha.
What are you reading? Who are you mentoring? What are you reading? And I'm just adding that who are you mentoring piece because the mentor-mentee relationship is beneficial to the mentor. Yes, have a mentor who is pouring into you, but also pour back into someone else because it will benefit you. So I want to ask those who want to take the professional leap, who are you mentoring? And what are you reading?
Gotcha.
That
Good
reading
question.
piece.
That's good word.
Oh my.
Good question.
That's a good word.
So we've left you with a lot to think about. Finding your purpose. Your calling. Being a mentor and finding a mentor.
Come on.
And also, what are you reading? What are you consuming? What's informing your thinking, your thought process, and your vision for yourself? Professionally and spiritually, because the two, as we talked about at the front end of this conversation, are linked together.
Absolutely.
All right. Now that you've gotten all that, stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.